everybody to the Single and Stilettos show. Today we have on the show Marni Battista, and she's a dating and relationship expert, and I'm so excited to have her on the show. She's actually spoken at my Single and Stilettos event, and everybody loved her. So welcome, Marni, to the show.
Oh, I'm so happy to be back in your little platform. I had so much fun when I came to New York.
I know. So today we're going to tell women how to get out of their dating rut and find the right man. So I knew you were the perfect person to talk to women about this today. So before we get into that, though, I would love for you to tell our audience how you got into this business.
The school of hard knocks in love. When I was 19, I met this amazing guy. And why was he amazing? Because he said he liked me.
Well, of course.
Exactly. He put his hand on my knee and he was like, I want to have a serious relationship with you. And since that doesn't happen very often ever, especially when you're 19, I was in. And I ended up marrying him for pretty much all the wrong reasons when I was 22 years old. Mm-hmm. And, on our wedding day, I was cleaning out my closet, actually, and I found the little index card with, I wrote my vows. And it was like, I will be everything for you. I will be the one thing in your life that makes you happy, et cetera, et cetera. And that is no way to start a marriage. And so most of that time, I felt sort of messed up. Like, what could I do to get him to love me more? We had 3 kids, and it looked great on the outside. But no matter what I did, I felt really just broken, and empty. And so we got a divorce, and that was tragic. But I figured the best way to get over it was to find someone else quickly, right? There was no reflection. So I got into a relationship with a younger, better-looking version of my ex-husband.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Go big or go home.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that relationship actually ended up to be, in some ways, almost worse because I had kind of convinced myself that the universe, caused the divorce so I could meet this great guy. And I ended up putting up with a lot of crumbs, really compromising myself, and really realizing after he cheated on me and broke up with me after 2 years of off and on and leaving his wife and not leaving his wife, that the one common thing in all my failed relationships was me.
Wow.
And that's kind of a big revelation when it's so easy to blame all the jerks, You know what I mean?
It's funny that you say that. And well, not funny, but I think you make a really good point because I noticed that a lot with my clients is they'll always look outward and it's always everybody else and they never look inward and it's always the common denominator is actually you. If the same things keep happening and when you're dating and you're in relationships, you have to look inward and go, maybe it's me and maybe I'm doing something to attract these type of people. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, it was that, and this revelation came, I have 3 kids and I was in my minivan on the way to pick them up from school. And I was trying to text and, I was going to do a drive-by stalking and see if he was with the new girlfriend and could someone pick my kids up. And, I ran a red light, and I was like, honk, and I pulled over and I was like, girlfriend, you have got to get it together. You have 3 daughters. You're going to teach this to them. And it was at that point that I stopped. And I really discovered the system that I now use with my clients to break free from my romantic rut. And I learned how to fall in love with myself and then date with dignity and attract an amazing guy into my life. And it was taking responsibility for me that allowed me to really create the love that I wanted. And so that's what I do for other people now.
That's awesome. So you just transferred what you did for yourself to other people and you're helping other people. So you're basically doing what you love, right?
I do, because if I could just save one person from their drive-by stalker ex-girlfriend movement, then I feel like my work on the planet is done.
I love that you said that. That's hilarious. So what can a woman do to really get out of her dating rut? If she feels like, she keeps dating the wrong guy or she keeps going on first dates and they never turn into second or third dates, what can a woman do to get out of her rut?
Well, it's really actually counterintuitive, and it's this. Stop dating. Step 1 of my system, I call it the dating fast. It's like a cleanse. Because what happens is we have these limiting beliefs about dating men, ourselves. I'm not good enough. There's no good men in Manhattan, whatever it is. And so every time we date unsuccessfully, we collect evidence that we're right.
Right, exactly.
Right? And so there's kind of no way to break out of it because you can't think your way out of your thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. So the number one thing is to take a dating fast. minimum 3 to 4 weeks, and start really looking at what is your pattern, who do you attract. And in the absence of man clutter, a lot of emotional stuff starts to bubble up. And that's where you can really start to do the work to clear those past patterns.
Right. No, I completely agree. I always tell people that, if it's not working for you, take a break, because you're just bringing that negative mindset to every date, and every date the guy's picking up on it. And people don't realize what they're projecting outward. Even if they think they're not saying anything, they're projecting that feeling outward.
Absolutely. I call it leaking. Like you can be wearing this great dress and the blow to dry and the Botox, whatever it is, but your unconscious thoughts about how you define yourself in the world, like totally leak, and men pick up on it. Sometimes they can't, put their finger on it, but I'm sure when you're talking to your clients after they've gone out with someone, they're like, there was just something that I can't really name that made me feel like it wasn't a match. So we have to get to the root of that, and then you can start having success.
No, and that's true. And it's funny because when I meet with clients for the first time, sometimes I pick up on the energy. And I'm like, if I pick up on the energy, these guys are picking up on the energy. So I think that's a really good point. So give me 2 or 3 things that you think women should take a look at when they take this break from dating. Like, do they, I don't know, what do they look at?
Well, the one thing to look at, first of all, is what is it that you lay in bed at night thinking about yourself, dating, men, love, and relationships. When you're in the dark still of the night, in your innermost thoughts, write it down. Is it, God, everybody else is good at relationships except me? Or, maybe I'm just meant to be successful at work. Or, you know what, I'm just too old. Really look at what it is that you believe, and then ask yourself a few questions. First of all, is like, where did I learn it? So you can disconnect from the story because you learned it most likely way back in the past. And then ask yourself, why must it be like this again? And finally, there's an unconscious gain that you get from staying stuck. Whether it's, I don't have to be vulnerable, I don't have to risk getting hurt, I don't have to go to someone else's nephew's bar mitzvah in Fargo. It's like, because I remember when I was single, I was talking to someone and she was in this relationship and she was like, I have to go, I'm going to my boyfriend's nephew's bar mitzvah in Fargo. And I was like, oh God, that's the last thing I would ever want to do. And I realized, even though I said I wanted to be in a relationship, beliefs like that were actually keeping me stuck in my independent, hip happening lifestyle. So write them down and then ask yourself, what are you getting? And are you willing to let go of those beliefs?
Right. I completely agree. And I think there's, what I noticed too is that, and this isn't just with women, this is with men too, is they'll come up with a thought, like you said, you brought up a great one, is like in New York, there's no men to date because New York is prevalent for having more single women than single men. And the thing is, you only need one. But when you say that to yourself, that there aren't enough single men here, you're already blocking yourself. You're already putting yourself behind the 8 ball because you're almost giving yourself that excuse of why you can't meet the right guy. So
exactly.
Or like you said, when a woman says, well, I'm too old to date, guys are just attracted to younger women. Well, that's not necessarily true. Obviously, there are some men that are attracted to younger women, but there's not all men want a younger woman. Some men want women that are in their 40s or whatever. So it's almost like women block themselves when they tell themselves that. And it's almost like they're validating why they haven't met somebody.
Well, exactly. And it keeps you safe. When I coach women, we call it the comfy, cozy condo. You get to wear your fat pants and a cute guy delivers you Chinese food and you don't have to share the remote, and you're like, of course I would never want that. But it's safe,
right.
You don't get hurt.
Exactly.
And I think so many women, come up with these fears about what they're trying to avoid. And it keeps them stuck. And either way, you're in pain, right? Yeah. So I would say step out of the condo. Mm-hmm. And if you spend one day, this is the challenge. I don't care whether you live in Dubai, North Dakota, or Manhattan. Go about your day as if there were amazing men everywhere and they all want you. Like, what would you do? How would you dress? how would you hold yourself? Would you start smiling at the cute guys? Or would your face still be in your phone, in your book, in your newspaper? So it's really just imagine what life is different if you just invited in a different perspective and notice how your day changes.
Right. And I completely agree. And it's about being more open. And I find that when women are like that, they'll find that more men smile at them and say hi or, just approach them. But when you're, like you said, when you're in your book or you're in your phone, people aren't going to approach you because you're so closed off and people don't realize that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have a client, I teach a group class, and I have a client named Betty, and she literally has not been asked out on a date for, I think she said 18 months when she started. So we started with the dating fast, right? And now she's back online, and we broke a lot of those negative patterns. And just yesterday, she was like there's men everywhere. Not even necessarily I want to date them all. Like some are not, I'm not attracted to, or they're too old, or they're too young, or whatever. She goes, but all of a sudden, they're smiling, they're asking me for my number, people want to fix me up. And so that can be your truth if you choose to actually focus inward and then go out.
Yeah, you're completely right. I completely agree. So let's talk about dating types, because I hear this all the time from both men and women about, oh, well, my type is whatever, an alpha male, or I like men that are really professional, or I've heard guys say to me, oh, I like girls that are really creative, that works better for me. And I always find it funny when people say that's my type, because if that's your type, then why are you not with this person? Why are you still single? Right?
Right.
So I wanted to get your take on about types when people say this is my type.
Well, I really encourage people to get out of the characteristics when they're looking for type and go more on character, right? So you're doing a values match, because I've had so many clients, and I bet you have too, where when you get them to open up, like maybe a little shorter, a little less money, a little whatever, they actually find these amazing relationships, especially for really strong, successful, independent women. It's, and I'm one of those women. I realized after being married to a really strong alpha sort of narcissist that actually that's not my match. And right. I really have a hard time at the beginning convincing that type of women to go beyond the status of job, title, etc. Because what they really want is someone to actually take care of them. They want someone to nurture them. They want someone to be the support team for them. And two alphas don't really get along. So I would really look at making a list of 5 characteristics that are more values-based rather than tall, dark, and handsome, or under 30, skinny, and, big boobs.
Right. Yeah, and I completely agree, because this is what I tell my clients, because, again, for both men and women, they'll have this list of must-haves. He has to be this tall, he has to have this type of job, like you said, he has to have this income level, and he has to dress a certain way. And I always tell women, that's not what you fall in love with. What you fall in love with is how he treats you, the connections you have, the chemistry you have, but it has nothing to do with those things that you feel are a must-have. So I think that's great that you say that. So how can a woman get out of dating her type? Because it's funny, when I approach women sometimes and I'm like, well, he's a little bit shorter than what you normally like, and you should always see their face. They're always like, So what would your suggestion be when women have to go out of their comfort zone?
Well, so out of your comfort zone is stepping out of that comfy, cozy condo. So I call it doing the Costanza, based on a great Seinfeld episode where George says he's going to do the opposite of everything, right? So just for now, just to indulge Suzanne, or the person that you've hired, or you're asking for help, to be open-minded and see what it brings. I have a client who is 5'11". She came to me and she was like, there's no way I'm dating someone not taller than me. And I said, will you do me a favor, And she ended up meeting a guy out who was like 5'10", and they're engaged.
Oh my God, that's great. Yeah.
And it took her, about 5 or 6 dates to really get comfortable with it. And I actually had her go on the internet and look at sexy celebrity couples where the woman's taller than the guy. And she all of a sudden was like, I could totally be that sexy, tall woman. And anyway, and now she's in this great relationship. So again, if you're looking for those values and how this person makes you feel and how they treat you and what they want out of their life, step into being open about it. And ask for help. How can you figure out how you could be attracted? The other thing is, I had a client who said, this guy was boring. He was like an accountant. He was really boring. And I said, go on another date that's not dinner. Encourage him to come up with another date. And so he said, why don't you come watch me teach kickboxing? I work with kids, and it'll be really fun. I'll show you around the gym. Maybe we can box a little bit. And then we'll go out and go for a hike. So she went, and all of a sudden she saw him like kickboxing, and she thought it was so sexy that he was working with the kids. And she started to see that he wasn't just a boring accountant, because she had decided that wasn't her type. No lawyers, accountants, engineers, blah, blah, blah. Want a creative. Anyway, and now they're in a relationship. So you've got to really open up and be in that space of what would it look like if it did work.
That's a great suggestion. So I have a question for you. So when you have clients that go on a first date, right, and they go out on a date with a guy and they're like, there just wasn't any chemistry, I feel like it wasn't my type. What do you tell them? Do you tell them to go out on a second date and just try, or do you just go, okay, let's look for somebody else?
Well, I always say try and go on 3 dates unless there's like serious red flags. And again, just like the kickboxing client, really try and do an experience together that you're both doing together for the first time. I mean, it's like, why do you think they have those reality shows dating? They're doing like crazy experiences, jumping off buildings,
right,
and zip lining. Because they're doing something new together, and a shared experience creates chemistry. So you don't have to rappel down a building in Manhattan, but just be really encouraging. I'm really adventurous. I'm wondering if you have any ideas for something we could do together on our next date that would be fun. That's not just dinner, and that can create chemistry. So 3 dates.
And it creates a bonding experience because you're experiencing something together. And I think that's a great, great tip, because I find too many people discount somebody after a first date and they expect these sparks to fly. And they're like, I've had this chemistry before and I know what it's like. And if I don't feel it on the first date, then I'm not going out again. And I always think that's ridiculous. It's like you said, if you don't see the huge red flags, why not go out on a second date and just see?
Well, also, sometimes what creates the chemistry is that person was bad for you. And so we have this thing that if there's no like drama, trauma, butterflies, then that means that's chemistry. But compatibility and chemistry are sort of different. So chemistry can grow if you really get to know someone, especially in a sort of mature adult relationship.
Right.
There's no drama.
Right. I completely agree. Well, these have been some great tips. So I would love to ask you one last question. Could you give us your best dating tip for the women?
I've been talking to a lot of smart, successful, attractive men, and they told me their number one turnoff is feeling like they're on an interview during a date.
I've heard that so many times from my male clients. It's true. They're like qualifying him on a date, and it's the most annoying thing.
They like literally go bye, So my best advice is, instead of saying, what do you do or where do you live, reframe it. So you're a lawyer. What are you most passionate about in your job? What do you love most about working in the court system? Like, ask questions that are more about who are you and what do you love about it? Or tell me, like, what do you love most about your neighborhood? How did you choose that neighborhood? Really be in a place of open communication rather than the destination. Again, that's a very masculine trait. Like, I need information, I need closure, I need to make a decision. It's because you want to feel safe,
right,
and in control.
Right.
So on the date, do the Costanza, step out of your comfort zone, and try to not get that closure on the first date by being more open and conversational. He will run away if he feels interviewed.
Oh, definitely. And I think women don't realize that they would run away too if they were being interviewed by the guy. And guys don't do that. They just go on the date to have fun.
Exactly.
So, well, that was great. So tell our audience how they can find you.
You can go to datingwithdignity.com. And right now we're doing a free training series on the 3 secrets why men disappear. So if you have men who vanish on you, you definitely want to check that out, and we'll help you figure out why you attract them, why you're attracted to them, and how you can avoid them in the future.
Uh, and I think every woman has had a guy disappear and she's been like, wait, I thought it was going great. So I think that's great. And we'll put a link on our on the webpage, so you can go to the webpage and click on the link to your website and get the free report. So that's great. So thank you so much, Marni, for being on the show. And if you like the show, we do the show once a week, and we have a new dating expert on every week. And if you'd like to get our free report on what attracts a man and what turns him off, you can go to our website, or you can click right here. And if you're listening to our podcast, just go to our website, singleandstilettos.com. Thanks so much.
Bye, Suzanne.